Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Ali Show. And today we have a special guest, Alexis Pritchard. Did I get your last name right?
Very good.
Yeah,
Very
that's
good.
the one. Alexis here. She's actually been mentioned before twice from two of our previous guests would be David, which was the recent one, and even Tasman Benny as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, Alex, can I call you Alex?
Call me Lex.
Lex.
Yeah.
Lex, how are you today?
I'm very good, actually. Just had my coffee, so feeling good.
You always need your morning coffee to kind of bring you up a little bit. I just feel like now when I don't have my morning coffee, it's just weird.
It's actually quite terrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I started drinking coffee about 5 years ago when we moved into this gym.
Really?
Yeah. Before that, I was just a tea person. And
Oh,
the first
tea.
time I drank a flat white, I was like running up and down the gym like a crazy person. Yeah. I think now it's just like a ritual.
So
Yeah.
how many? Okay, let's ask this question because when I was talking with David Nika as well, he was telling me like he's like quite a heavy coffee person. Are you a heavy coffee person? Nah.
No.
Do you have
No,
like
no.
a max? What is the
One a day.
one a day? That's not enough.
It's probably not even. It's not even. It's like a tiny habit.
Yeah. Oh, that's not too bad. But anyway, for those who don't know who you are, Alex,
Yeah.
could you give us a brief intro about yourself?
So I'm Lex. My husband nicknamed me Lex. I was Alexis before that.
Yeah.
And I'm recently retired from combat sport, from boxing. Boxed for 16 years. Started when I was 19. I had no intention of being a fighter. It just kind of happened. I fell in love with the sport. I fell in love with how it made me feel. And I just came back for more and more and more. And then I had my first fight and, the rest is history. I am a trained physiotherapist, but I've left physiotherapy in the last year and I'm a mental skills and performance coach now.
Awesome.
So I help people live more courageously, fight more courageously, do whatever they do more courageously so that they can really show up as their full selves and live into their potentials. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You're like you're a person with many skills, many talents.
Well, I think, it's an evolution. You're always picking up skills along your journey. And I think it's just figuring out that most of your skills are transferable. So the skills that I learned in the ring as an athlete have really transferred into life in terms of my public speaking career, where I can get up and be courageous in front of an audience, versus being courageous in a boxing ring. Or even talking to you. Like some people don't like doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know.
It makes
And
people
like,
nervous.
that's the thing. Like some of the guests that I've had, it's so weird. Like with they usually tell me like it just feels weird. Feels I'm a little bit worried about how I'm gonna react. And I was like, don't worry, trust me. 5 minutes, 10 minutes talking, and you just forget that the camera's there, the lights there. You just keep going.
Yeah.
I just want to dive a little bit into when you started boxing. So you said you started at 19 years old. And how did that come about? Like what kind of setting? Was it just with a couple of mates and jumping into the gym? Or?
No. So I was playing hockey and I had volunteered.
Hockey now?
Yeah. I had volunteered to be the goalie that season. I was playing for a club here in Auckland called Western Districts. And it was a terrible season for us because I didn't know what I was doing in the goal. And I was in a league that I really shouldn't have been in, like first-time goalie in a Premier 2 league for hockey.
Yeah.
We lost every game that season. I felt terrible. I felt like I'd let the team down. And my self-esteem was pretty low. My self-confidence was pretty low. And I just was like, I want to do something fitness-wise. And there was a boy, and he was talking about boxing. And I was like, oh, wouldn't that be lovely? And so I went to a different gym that he was at. I looked in the yellow pages.
Oh, back then. Yellow pages days.
And I went to a different gym and the gym said, we're too busy to answer the phone, just coming down and try a class. And the first class I ever did was with Kahukura Benson, who Commonwealth Games, boxer, hundreds of fights, really cool dude. And I was like, this is really cool. So first day, fell in love with it.
Wow.
And then just continued to come back day after day.
Where was that gym at? Hey you, don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video.
was just down the road here,
Oh,
Boston Road.
okay.
Yeah. Cam, my coach,
Yeah.
/ husband,
Yeah.
used to work and own that gym.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was like 16 years ago.
Wow.
And then I went on to have 143 fights after that.
143 fights.
Yeah, and 1 Olympic Games and 2 Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So you and not only I think were you the first female to get a medal at the Commonwealth Games?
No.
Because I read that somewhere, you know.
So, I mean, I was the first female to win a bout at an Olympic Games for New Zealand. Because in 2012, London Olympics was the first time women's boxing was ever in an Olympic game. So I was part of the first 32 women to compete in boxing.
It's written down in history.
It's in history. It's pretty cool. And then so 2018, there were 3 girls that medalled at the Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast. It was Tassie Benny, Troy Garton, and me. And now I can't remember who actually received their medal first. It might have been Taz or might have been Troy. I don't think it was me.
Okay, so one of the 3. Doesn't matter. One of the 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's pretty impressive. How was it like competing like at a big stage like that, you know, Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games, like?
The Olympic Games was absolutely incredible.
2012, that was
2012 in London.
London, yeah.
I'm a big game fighter. Like, I was less nervous in front of 10,000 people than I was down at the ABA here in Auckland. You know,
I think I understand what you mean, and it makes sense when there's more people and a little bit, maybe, like, I wouldn't say further away, but like you don't really zoom in on like a few people.
I mean, you don't know the people. You're in a different country. You're just there to have fun. I think sometimes when I was fighting at home, I got a little bit nervous, especially if my mum was coming to watch.
Yeah, especially like this was one of the things that you know, I talk about with a lot of the athletes. You know, when you have a little bit of that pressure, family and friends who come to watch you. And a really funny one was like when Cam was saying, you want to make sure that the people who come to support you know that, you know, you've not wasted their time or money.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, because like, I think you start out thinking that, like, especially as a younger athlete, you want to not disappoint people.
That's right.
You want them to be proud of you. You don't want to waste their time or waste their money. But I think what you realize after you've been in the game for a long time is that people are proud of you.
Definitely.
No matter what the outcome is.
That's
and they're there to support you because they love and care about you.
That's
and they really don't care about the outcome. Yes, they want you to win for you.
Yeah.
They don't want you to win for them. And so once you realize that, I think that's when you can really let go of that pressure that you put upon yourself. Because they don't put it upon you.
So how did you, was that the way that you used to, what was the way or methods you used to deal with those nerves, you know, like when you're fighting at the ABA, for example?
So it's a long journey, isn't it? Like, you try different things along the way. But what really helped me in the end was focusing on how I wanted to feel. So what did I want to bring to the ring? I wanted to be courageous. I wanted to act fearlessly, and I wanted to have fun. So courage, fearlessness, and fun, and just channeling that and feeling what it feels like in your body, thinking of the fight as a challenge, something, I mean, you enjoy the thing, don't you? So therefore go and enjoy it. Because when you're enjoying things, it's just going to flow so much more beautifully, isn't it? Than when you are feeling pressure and feeling like you have to do something perfect. Because perfection is not going to help you. Yeah, it's about excellence. It's about fun,
nicely
and
said,
courage.
Do you feel like you have like a different kind of do you kind of have a switch where you switch to a different person when you get into the ring?
Yes, my switch took a bloody long time for me to figure it out. Yeah. For me even to acknowledge that I could be 2 different people. You know, as a young girl growing up, I think really all human beings are told don't hit each other. it's bad.
Yeah.
And so to reconcile this idea that I am a combat athlete and I'm a fighter and I am an everyday human being, I'm a physiotherapist. Back then I was a health professional, so I was helping people. But on the other hand, this other person was hurting people and learning to enjoy it. So those two personalities, I really had to figure out how to live with both. And
But on the bright side, if you hurt them, you can just fix them up later.
Exactly. So it's about giving yourself permission, really, to be this athlete. And a fighting athlete needs to be assertive. They need to hit hard. They need to be relentless, and all those things that we need to do. We have to give ourselves permission to do that if we're not used to it. And so when I learned how to do that, and when I realized that I could be two different personas, it was just beautiful.
It just worked perfectly.
Boxer Lex was born. And so I used to refer to her as Boxer Lex and Lex. It helped me separate the two. It helped me be pretty ruthless in the ring and enjoy it. And then out of the ring, I was nice. Yeah.
Which you are.
Which I am. And also, I think we have to realize that both of us are signing up. We get in the ring, there's this unwritten contract that we're both going to show up as best as we can and fight as hard as we can, because that's the respect that we give each other as fighters. So me being half-ass in the ring is not respectful, I think, either.
Yeah, that's very true. And you don't want to, you've trained hard, you've prepared yourself, and you want to make sure that you didn't waste all that time. When you get there, you do your best. You don't limit yourself to what other people might think of you. Yeah. Or even sometimes when you start to think negatively or you start to put yourself down, you've got to tell yourself, hey, stop talking to me like that. Telling yourself that in your head, stop talking to me like that. Cut that out straight away,
I think we're our harshest critics, and we can be our harshest judges as well. I think it's about learning how to be our biggest cheerleaders that are actually going to probably push us the furthest along. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes guidance as well. The mental side of fighting, the mental side of life is the hardest side. And, we go to coaches to teach us how to fight, but very few of us go to coaches to teach us how to think, how to explore and process things in our minds. And when we can actually learn those skills, we can really soar. Otherwise, we hold ourselves back.
Yeah, and this I think since we on this, it's it's very important that you find a coach that actually helps you not only just the boxing side of things, but how to think, how to bring yourself, and that's, I feel that is what is lacking today. There's a lot of trainers, but there's not a lot of teachers.
Yes. And I think sometimes as well, coaches are experts in fighting, and not all coaches are experts in the mental side, or they'll have the knowledge, but they might not know how to teach it. So go and find someone else that knows how to teach it, because the more great people you have on your team, the better. Yeah.
And this is just also a message that I want to pass on to people who are listening and watching as well, that if you find if you go the first gym that you go to, and if it's not, if it doesn't work out the way that you want it to, don't stay longer than you need to. Leave. And don't be afraid to kind of explore other places, meet other people, and because there are going to be some people who are going to disagree with what I say. But I sometimes feel that you need to learn from a few different teachers for you not only to be able to better understand the sport, but better understand yourself, to kind of see who you can get along well with, and, what kind of styles, because that's the thing, different coaches have different styles,
Yeah.
you know, and you want to find out, and not everybody is as open to developing you, but they want to kind of groom you to be what they want, you know, themselves, what they want you to be, you know. And I think that's one of the things which is really important, especially in combat sports. Because, you know, not everybody can kind of...
Yeah, so the best coach in the country, for example, might not be the best coach for you.
Precisely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And yes, I think once if the first gym that you walk into and you feel comfortable and confident and you feel like the coach cares about you, and you feel like you're at home, stay there. That's what I did. I stayed for 16 years.
16 years,
You know,
wow.
I had the same coach the whole way through. However, I did have opportunities to be in training camps, you know, in New Zealand and overseas, and have the opportunity to work with other coaches. And in those moments, I took what they said and they came at it from a different perspective. And I was like, that makes sense. So if you find your coach on the first go, awesome.
Yeah.
But if you don't find that coach on the first go, like you say, it's okay to go somewhere else. It's okay to explore other options. But I think you also need to make sure that you are not just exploring because your ego is hurt, because you didn't like what they said. You've got to make sure that your coach's intentions for you are the same as your intentions for yourself.
That's right.
Like, do they have your back?
Yeah. Ideally, I think that's really important, because you know, at the end of the day, you're going into a fight. Or you're going to war.
Yeah, you
put
are.
it that way. And like, if you don't have the right tools and the right team, the right people, you're gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
You know, so...
And also sometimes your coach tells you things that you don't like to hear. But they need to tell you that.
They need to.
So, you know, are they honest enough to even say those things to you? And are you open enough to receive that kind of feedback? So I think this coach-athlete relationship is very important. And you've got to make sure that your communication is open, that you're not leaving just because you feel a bit hurt.
Yeah, I think the sensitivity level has to kind of go down a little bit. You know, you have to be open to criticism, have to be open to like stuff that you don't really want to hear sometimes, you know. But obviously, with everything, there is a limit to it.
Totally,
you know,
totally.
obviously.
And also, like you were saying, like if you walk into a space and you don't feel comfortable, then you might be thinking, oh, maybe this place is not for me, and that's cool. Like if you, you know, even the first time you walk into a space, like don't only think with your logical brain, think with your emotional side as well, your intuition, your gut. If you walk in and you're like, oh, I'm not sure about this, not my kind of vibe, then it's like okay to like backtrack out of there.
Yeah, talking about that, like when I walked into this office here, I was like, man, it's a beautiful office, very nice space. And I was like, you know, you spend a lot of time decorating, and like what you said, you know, like when I walked in here, you just feel comfortable. Like it feels, you know, it feels very relaxing. You know, I really appreciate walking into, for me, I appreciate walking to a space that someone has put time and effort to like make it look good.
Yeah. So this is my office, guys.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of my mental skills coaching in here with individuals and groups. And yes, I wanted to make sure that it felt nice for me, so therefore felt nice for everyone to come and sit and chat, because you got to open up, don't you? And you've got to feel comfortable in the space. And I remember going to like sports psychs over the years, a few different ones, and I'd walk into their like space and it was very clinical, and like I'd be sitting at the edge of my chair because I couldn't find my comfort in their space.
Yeah, it's very rigid.
It's very like rigid.
Yeah.
And so like my office feels like a home. I hope it does anyway. And
it does. It
nice,
definitely looks like it. Yeah.
Comfy sofa.
Yeah,
you know, you can relax. You can just be you, and you can therefore be more open. Yeah. So.
And like you know, the one of the stigma around like, you know, seeing someone, or like you know, the image that back in the day you used to have was like a very, oh no, I'm gonna see somebody who's like real fierce, or you know, like they're gonna scrutinize, you know, everything, single thing I say, and like that was like the old kind of, if for someone who doesn't know, who hasn't
Yeah.
had an experience. But yeah, I hope that when people look at this and they see it, they kind of understand that it's not what it seems, or they think it is.
No, like, mental skills coaching, there's a difference between like clinical psychology, which is definitely not my scope. I can't work in that scope. I am not qualified. But mental skills is, for me anyway, I want to work with people who want to elevate themselves, who want to learn the tools to be more than they thought they could be. Because, when we all think, well, not all, I should say, a lot of us think to a certain level without realizing that we've put the ceiling there ourselves, and that we can actually elevate if we change the way we thought a little bit. And that could be like Janet in the office who does accounting, to a combat athlete who has to get in the ring or the octagon or wherever they're getting in and fighting. We can put limits on ourselves, and a lot of us do. And so it's like figuring out, how do you overcome those limits? And that's what a mental skills coach can help you with.
So talking about that, how did you decide to get into this line and do this work?
Well, the lovely Dave Neath, as you know, he's
actually,
such an awesome dude, isn't he?
I just have to, sorry to interrupt you. I actually butchered his last name, right? So I I asked him before we did the podcast. I was like, Dave, how do you pronounce your last name? And he said Neath, and I kind of forgot about it. He said, like, because he did say, some people do call him Neath, some people call him Neathy.
Yeah.
And he said Neath is like the correct one. And when I did the podcast, I just said Neathy, and I was like, oh my goodness. And he was kind enough not to correct me.
Yeah, no, Dave is so fantastic. He was my mental skills coach in the last couple of years. Well, actually, not the last maybe year and a bit.
Hey you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video.
So Dave and I were working together with me as an athlete. And then after the Commonwealth Games, we continued to work together, and he was the one that prompted and suggested that I had an aptitude for this kind of work. And I went off and did some extra study, and here I am. Yeah.
Wow. That's
so
awesome.
He helped guide me, and I think that's a really cool thing about your mentors and your coaches, is that, they can help you with the direction that you're going in.
Yeah, I think you kind of know when someone has, and I think that's what Dave is really good at. Like, when he's met and he's seen and talked to so many people, and when you meet certain individuals, like, I wouldn't say instantly, but like, after getting to know them for a while, you kind of know what they're really good at.
Yeah.
And like for yourself, you're really good at talking to people. And that's what I felt, like even the first time I met you was quite some time back when I popped into the gym, and you kind of gave me a fright. But anyway, I was just facing somewhere else, and you just came right behind me, and I was like, oh. But like, even that first meeting that we had, like it was just so easy to talk to you. And I guess that's man, if you're a mental skills coach, that's one of the things you want to have.
You want to be able to talk to people, and you want people to feel comfortable with you, because they're going to be telling you some hard stuff, and you want them to be able to feel comfortable doing that. And also, it's about like being interested. Like, I was really interested in your journey. Like, I learned so much about you, Ali, this morning. Like, oh man, you've lived a life. 28 years, and you've lived a life. Jeebus.
You make it sound like I'm old. Quite the story, but well, it's not about me anyway.
You should do a podcast on yourself one day. Maybe I can be the interviewer next time.
And I just tell my story from there. So with David, and he kind of like pushed you into the direction. And so you've been doing this for quite a while, I'd say?
I've been doing this for about a year and a half now. Close to 2 years. So full-time, probably only a year. And there was like the period at the beginning where I was like in between the physio and this kind of work. And with this work, there's also public speaking that's come from it. It's really cool.
Yeah,
really cool.
I want to get into a little bit about like public speaking and all that. I see a lot of your stuff, and I see you talking like around the country, you know, and you go around like you working with like the Olympic Committee. Could you tell us a little bit about some of the stuff you're doing?
So there's a few different strands of this public speaking. So the New Zealand Olympic Committee, I am one of their ambassadors. And what we do there is we go into primary schools and intermediates and sometimes high schools. And we talk about the Olympic values, excellence, respect, and friendship. And we weave that into our own journeys. And what we're trying to do there is inspire the next generation of New Zealanders to get moving. They might not necessarily become Olympians. There's less than 2,000 Olympians, New Zealand Olympians. I'm number 1196.
Wow,
Yeah.
you've got a
We
number.
each have an individual number. And so what we're trying to do is inspire young people to get up and move, because movement and sport is so wonderful, isn't it? We learn so much from sport. We learn so much from sport. So that's the New Zealand Olympic Committee. And yeah, I get to go around the country doing that. It's pretty cool. And then Lex, the mental skills coach, gets up and does more mental skilly kind of conversations around like, how do we overcome our limiting decisions? What is our self-talk? How do we change that? And then also Alexis Pritchard, who gets up and does the more business leadership through a sport lens, and how you can bring the athlete mindset to business. Yeah.
The interesting one is like when you go out there and talk to all these kids and all that, it's I don't know how, but like, you know, sometimes it's interesting. These kids look at you like, you know, generally like whoever, when an adult comes to talk to them and share stuff with them, they look at you, you know, they really like you know, admire, you know, these people come and talk to them. And I think that gives a lot of strength to people. I think people should try, for those who might not be, you know, have strengths in that area, they should try to do stuff like that. Because when you learn to talk to groups of people, you know, I thought that when I was younger, I felt that was really difficult for me, like to talk to. I could talk really well with like, you know, an individual,
Like one-on-one.
yeah. But then when it came to like any more than like 5-6 people, I was like, you know, unless I know them personally, but like it became a little bit of a struggle. And I think it took me a while to talk to groups.
You're not the only one. It took me a while. So I had this, you know, as a kid, getting up in front of the kids in class and doing like an English speech or whatever used to make me very nervous and stumbly and stuttery, and I think I was doing it so terribly. And so I had this like limiting decision about the fact that I hate public speaking. I hate getting up in front of people to talk. So 6 years ago, my best friend Marcia was getting married, and she was like, "You're the maid of honor, so you have to do a speech." And I was like, "Oh my goodness." That means I got to get up in front of everybody and do a speech. And so what I did was like, okay, yeah, I don't like doing this necessarily, or I'm nervous about it, or I feel anxious about it. So I went and enrolled in a course, and I got someone to teach me how to do public speaking, how to create a speech. And we'd get up for 6 weeks in a row, and I have to get up and speak like a 3-minute speech every week. So that really
was there anybody there? Or?
Yeah, there was like a whole class. So you had to like get up, and you were getting critiqued. So it's been a journey. This public speaking thing didn't just happen overnight. It's been an absolute journey. So from there, I got up and did the wedding speech. So that was cool. And then I was like, well, how do I keep practicing my public speaking? So I got a job as a lecturer at AUT and did a couple of years teaching to students who were doing their personal training certificate. Yeah, and then I was like, okay, well, how do I go to the next step? And then started doing small group speeches, talks. Yeah, and now I'm okay, like in front of 1,000 people, 2,000 people. I don't care. But it's an absolute journey. Like all these things start out, like you've got to start somewhere, don't you? And then you grow and develop and learn new skills along the way, and your confidence grows. So this public speaking thing has taken me 6, 7, 8 years.
Wow.
To be comfortable now to actually even use my body and almost act on stage while I tell the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Like I kind of feel like you have to have like movements, and it's a body language as well.
Yeah. And then also, I think it's understanding that everyone is a beginner. Every expert was a beginner at some point. But what they allowed themselves to do was to be vulnerable, to make mistakes along the way. And instead of being unkind to themselves in their heads, they were approached it from kindness and what did I learn and how can I grow? So no matter what you take up, that's the journey you want to go on. It's like learning.
It is
It's
like
just learning.
It is a process.
It's a process.
And people have to be comfortable with you're not going to be an expert at the start of the process.
No, and also the idea that it doesn't take a minute. It takes thousands of minutes.
Definitely.
It takes years to be good at stuff. Like what I see in the gym, I've been around for 16 years and I've just seen a lot of kids and young adults come in, and because they don't get good in a year or 2 years, they leave. And I'm like, guys, it takes years to be an expert. So
coming from someone who's been doing it for so long.
Suck it up.
Yeah. I think that would you say that might be back then compared to now, people are a little bit more impatient these days?
I think a lot of people are more impatient. And it's kind of sad because there's so many talented people out there, but they're just not patient with themselves. They're not kind to themselves. And so they stop far sooner than they should because they haven't reached that point yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so they walk away from the sport or walk away from the musical instrument or whatever it is because they haven't reached that expert level. And it's like, well, expert level takes 10 years, 12 years, 15 years.
It definitely does.
Yeah. It's not like, our Israel Adesanyas of the world didn't just happen overnight.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Like it took him like 15 years or whatever.
Yeah. He's been doing it for so long.
He's been doing it for a long, long time.
And that's what, sometimes as well, when obviously when he jumped into the UFC, his reach just grew exponentially. And that was when people saying like, he hasn't, he's just come in or this, that, whatnot. It's like, you need to go do your research and find out how long this guy has been kicking people in the face.
Yeah, he's been fighting for years. Like,
Yeah.
he did boxing, he did kickboxing, he's done all the combat things. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, he's made it. It's like, no, well, it took him like 15 years to make it.
Yeah, and he's definitely got the gift of the gap as well.
He does.
That's one skill that he definitely has. He's really good at it. Jumping back into what we were saying about like this is a little bit funny, but jumping back to having confidence. Being in front of a lot of people. This sounds real funny, but one of the ways that I gained it was not the best way.
Tell me about it.
So what happened was like when I was, back when I was a kid, when I was in school, I used to get into a lot of trouble, right? So then when you'd get into trouble, you'd like in the morning, like when you do your briefings or whatever before, you go to your classes. So the whole school's there. So how they punish you is they make you stand in front of everybody. You know? And not only just stand there, but, you had public caning as well. And I've experienced that myself. I mean, I'm not encouraging anybody to do any of this, right?
So public caning helped you do public speaking. This is crazy.
But how it helped me was like initially when the fear of it's so weird, and I don't encourage anybody to do this, but okay, this is my side of the story. The fear of standing in front of so many people, so many set of eyes looking at you, that got to me more than the fact that I was gonna get caned. I was like, man, everybody's looking at me. And obviously it was not like only once or twice, but might have been a few times. But yeah, when I think I was like I think after the second time, I kind of realized that, look, hey, if it does happen, it's gonna happen. So if it does happen, I'm gonna be standing in front of everybody. I want to make sure I put a smile on my face. Oh man, that was horrible. So like, I think they hated me. Like, I'll be real honest. Like, the teachers, the discipline masters, they hated me.
Because you'd walk up with a smile on your face.
Cause I walk up with a smile. Man, I just had like, it's this. Please don't do this. That's not the wrong way to get in front of people. But like,
There are easier ways to get in front of people.
yeah, there are definitely easier ways. But like, it's so crazy. And then I started realizing I was just, and talking about how when you're doing something, you want to be in the state and you want to be happy. And I kind of like, that kind of worked for me. So I was smiling, I was looking at people, and I wasn't like, I was like, it's happening, shit, it's here. So you got to embrace this, you got to take it in, and you got to take it like a champ.
Yeah.
So you got your, like, I don't know why they still even do it. I don't know why they still, like, it still does happen, but I think now they kind of took away the public caning, because like, I don't know. But anyway, like, I don't know why they even still do it. Like, it didn't even hurt. Let's be real honest. You get like, sometimes there's like, oh, you're gonna get like, 2-3 strokes, okay, whatever. They had like a list, so you depend on the severity of what you did. There was like a certain punishment. But it's like, it didn't even hurt. Like, I don't understand why you keep doing something that doesn't work. For some people at that time, I felt that.
What would have worked for you though?
I think what would have been better is you've got someone who actually know what the heck they're talking about to help you through. Because I had problems as a kid. Nobody does stuff that gets you in trouble and stuff like that. It would have been way better to get someone, a professional, to kind of talk and to kids and like growing I would say growing adults. You talk to these people, you find out what's the real problem. There must be a problem. I had my issues, and this bloody damn caning didn't help me at all. But what it did help me is make me a more confident person and have that courage. So it did help me. I mean, I'm not gonna say it didn't. It did help me in certain ways, but I believe that there would have been better ways.
Oh yeah, I think
to
there's
get to
definitely
it,
better ways than corporal punishment.
Definitely, and like I mean, even these days now, it still does happen, but it was like I think back then it was way worse.
Yeah, and probably in Singapore way worse than what New Zealanders have experienced. Like, I grew up in South Africa. So
how many years did you spend in South Africa?
0 to 16.
Oh wow!
So I moved here when I was 16 on the 24th of January.
Where exactly
2000.
in South Africa were you?
Cape Town.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So like, I remember when I was in Sabi, I would have been 9. You'd like, if the whole class was naughty or whatever, little things like not lining up properly outside of the classroom quietly enough. The teacher would like, right, everyone, knuckles out. And you'd like get knuckles.
I was just about to say that.
Over the knuckles with the ruler, a wooden ruler, like with a nice edge, and you'd have to like hold your hand out, and if you moved, she'd give you 2 or 3.
Until they're happy with it. This doesn't make sense.
You're like, that didn't help. It didn't work.
Yeah.
Like, because 2 weeks later, we would get the same thing.
That's just the old school way of thinking. Like,
totally.
If you don't listen to what we do, it's going to be physical punishment. That's it. And like, by some way, suddenly someone's going to listen to you because you hit them on the hand.
No, and it's like, adults, I guess back then, they were like, well, that's how we grew up. But thinking about it now, like, if you and I were interacting and I didn't like what you did and I just punched you in the face, like, we probably wouldn't be friends. So it's like, why do we do that to kids? And then expect kids to respect us and trust us and all the rest of it. It's just like, wow.
I think that's just like human nature. You feel that when you're talking to someone and it doesn't work, I've got to put like, I've got to put force. It's got to be done by force.
Fear.
Fear and force. That's like a really bad way of doing it. Like, but I don't know. Like, when I speak to some people, they have said that it kind of helped them to instill discipline. But like, maybe it does work for some people. maybe it
I mean,
doesn't.
we're a human race and we all have such different variations and needs and wants. And so I guess maybe it does work for some people, but it also doesn't work for other people.
Back then, from 0 to 16, obviously growing up in South Africa, how was it back then over there?
It was so Mandela had come out of jail, and in
Wow.
94 we had the elections. So it was the country was going through some changes. I think the country is still going through changes. So from apartheid, so from racial segregation to more inclusive society. But they're still going through those changes. They're still having issues. It's going to take a long time to heal. And I think that's the important thing to understand, is that it's not going to happen overnight. I had a really good life in South Africa. I mean, I have a great life here as well. But my mum and her friends and her circle made me feel like nothing was really wrong. You know, like
they kept you.
They kept us all like safe and comfortable, and we knew that things weren't perfect, but we were all loved, and that's definitely sort of helped me.
It's interesting, like hearing you say that, because I've had a few friends, and they've shared some like pretty harsh stories, because it was like quite rough back then, and glad I'm glad that you didn't have to experience the harder sides of it, like the very rough kind of experiences. But
I mean, I had a couple of weird things, like as a kid, like a little tiny tot. I was at a rally with my mum. This was before Mandela was released, and I was wearing a big puffer jacket, and I was like 5 or 6 or whatever, and like the security guards were patting me down, and I was like, this is weird, like why are they patting a 6-year-old down? Well, I was like, they were looking for weapons that my mother had possibly hid in my jumper. She didn't do that, guys. Didn't hide weapons. I was just cold. I am very cold. And then another time the police came to our house looking for passports of his name, my mum's comrade, I guess, and she was holding passports. And so, and it was good that she was holding passports, because if he was picked up off the street or wherever he was picked up from the police and thrown in jail with his passport, he could have just disappeared. So it's best that someone else has your passport, so that they have to come and find your passport, because then you know that the police has them. So therefore, my mum could be like, okay.
People were informed.
And his parents were informed, and
so
that he couldn't just disappear.
Yeah, that's some crazy times right there. People just disappearing. Oh my goodness.
So those are the kind of experience that those are the two things. There's those two things I actually remember quite vividly. But the rest of the time, safe, loved, cared for.
Definitely. You want to have a good environment, family environment. But yeah, talking about that, that's pretty scary. Just disappearing. Oh my goodness.
And people dying in jail of self-strangulation. And you're like, come on.
Yes. Like talking about that, like I don't know how much, I don't know much, but like the current situation that's happening in Africa, that's pretty wild.
Where?
In Nigeria, I just saw, it's up online. There were some videos that came up of, there was a protest going on, and you could hear shots getting fired at it really looks like, to me, like peaceful protesters, because when the army started to come, they just moved away. So that tells me that if an army with guns come and you're walking away, you're not looking for a fight. You just
no.
It is a peaceful protest, and there's just the videos going up. It's pretty wild.
It's crazy what law enforcement can do to people.
Yeah,
it's quite sad.
Yeah, it is. And like I think, even like the ones that happened previously in the US with what happened, and I guess it kind of shed a lot of light on stuff that has been happening that people haven't been giving attention.
Yeah, and I think the other issue is that we give attention to it for like a second, and then because it's not part of our lives and we're not living it, we easily forget it, which I guess, is part of human nature. So these atrocities continue. Yeah.
Well, hopefully with I think with better education and awareness, it might change.
I hope so.
We have hope.
Yeah, we have hope.
Well, you gotta have hope. If you don't have
Yeah.
hope, then that's it.
I think it's about, kindness to each other, more tolerance and patience.
Yeah, I think tolerance.
Just like,
I like
tolerance. It's okay that we have different views. It's all okay that we have different views. That's what makes us a society. But I don't think we need to get violent over those views.
You are right to have your own opinion. Like we might disagree on a few topics, but that doesn't mean we should go out and hit each other and just doesn't make sense. So anyway, one of the things I want to ask, so far, getting into this whole mindset coaching and all that, what has been the highlights or the best parts of it so far?
Just the other day, in fact, I'm doing some workshops at a high school, and one of the young girls, we'd finished our 5 sessions, and she gave me a thank you card. And it said, "Thank you so much for inspiring us, but also sharing your knowledge and letting us know that we're good enough just the way we are, that we can be more than we think we can be." And teaching us all those skills along the way. 14, 15-year-old girls. So that was really cool. And even when an athlete sends you a message and says, "Hey, this competition," for me, I don't really care about the outcome. What I want for them to say is, "Lex, I showed up with courage today. I was assertive. I felt like a badass performing and doing what I do." I love those messages. And every now and again, it's like, and bonus, I got the win, So it's about, what I love is that seeing people's growth along their journeys and for them to realize that they can unlock all of that. Yeah. So
Wow,
that's the special
awesome.
part of it.
It definitely is very rewarding getting those kind of messages, And I think I feel like, when you help someone and, they gave you those kind words, I feel it motivates you even more.
Well, I feel like then you know that you're on the right track, you're on the right path, you're doing good in the world. And for me, that's one of my whys. I want to help people realize that they can be more than they think they can be. I want them to realize that they can do the hard things, that they can be courageous, and they can, they don't have to hold themselves back. And whether it's whether I help 10 people or 100 people or 1,000 people, just helping someone be different is pretty empowering. It's pretty powerful.
Definitely is. So on that, what are your future plans now? So aside from this, do you plan to expand, venture into new things, or?
At the moment, I am in production of a online course.
Wow.
Around limiting beliefs and how, what is it? How do I overcome it? And some strategies. I think mental skills coaching, for me anyway, needs to get wider. So more audience needs to be able to access it. And sometimes one-on-one coaching is a little bit expensive and not everyone can afford that. So finding a platform for people to be able to afford it is something that I am working on.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Hey, you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video.
Online platform where combat athletes, everyday people, no matter what you do, you can access it.
Oh, that's awesome. I think that's one of the things is providing I wouldn't obviously it's a service, but providing help to the masses, and obviously something they can afford, and also it's easily accessible.
So it's like a almost like a gym,
a mental gym
membership.
Yeah.
Mental gym membership, and you can pay like a weekly thing, or you can just do one course or whatever. So it's in
And
the
like you can
making.
communicate with
Yeah.
other people and the coaches
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Well,
Yeah.
that's really pretty cool. So it's still, has it been
It's-
up yet, or it's still in the works?
It's still in the works.
Yeah, it's still in the
I'm
works.
kind
Okay.
of testing it with our athletes here at Rec Room. I'm dragging. I'm a bit slow, but I want to get it right.
Yeah, I think
Like not perfect.
Yeah.
I just want to get a
yeah.
product out there that doesn't need too many tweaks.
You definitely, like what we were talking about before we did the podcast, is when you, like I would say maybe on some ways a little bit similar. Like the way I think is like when you want to put something out there, it has to be of a certain standard at least. It doesn't have to be perfect, but like you want to.
Yeah, I think it's like it's a balance between like getting it out there.
Yeah.
You're not going to have like TV production.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Maybe you are with all this stuff right here. Guys, you need to see the setup. He's got all the best stuff. It's pretty cool. I was like, when Ali messaged me, I was like, oh yeah, cool, just like a normal camera.
Yeah.
But like, oh my gosh, we've got the lights, we've got the camera, we've got the Rode mics, the everything. This dude's set up. So I'm not going to be this setup, but just having something nice to look at, but with good content as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's got to, I think that's the main one. It has the purpose of has to be in line, and that'll be awesome. I would say I'm looking forward to that, to see that come up, and it's pretty interesting. For me, I love it when I hear people tell me about like this stuff that they're working on, they're building, they want to do this, they're that. And it just, I feel kind of motivated as well. It's like, it's cool, they're doing this, you should pump up the people, give them the support, I'm really, really looking forward to see, and with everybody that I meet, like it's sometimes like I feel that's what it's quite sad. It's like when you're with like friends, sometimes I feel like people are a little bit worried about telling this sort of stuff to their friends around them, because sometimes when you get too comfortable around people, they're like, you're just talking rubbish. What are you talking about? Like those kind of comments that will come back. But like I think people need to kind of not push, but like support each other, and like help your friends and your mates and all that, set goals, and not only push them to achieve those goals, but be with them along the way as well. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's I guess there's two different. For me, it's like you can either choose to just have mentors who do this for you and help support you, but then you can also, like, as an added boost, is like your friend circle. If your friend circle is not uplifting and encouraging and supportive, and it's like, well,
maybe it's time to change the circle.
Get a new circle.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Like when you mix with a certain group of people and who are only going in a certain direction,
you're gonna most likely go in that direction too.
Yeah, you can't. That was a funny one. Like you can't be friends with 9 liars and be like the only one who's honest. That saying actually makes so much sense.
Yeah, I mean, the 5 people that you spend the most time with is usually going to be the traits that you're going to develop. So how about just be with 5 inspiring people, or uplifting people, or courageous people, or supportive people, and then you'll like elevate.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So now we've come to the section, wise words from the wise lady. So Lex, David actually started this. He actually started this, well, actually Junior did.
Yeah.
But then David kind of made it like official. Like,
okay.
So wise words for people watching, listening. What would you say to them?
Firstly, get out of your own way. And you might need to find someone to help you do that. But I think that we stand in our own way more than anything. We put the blocks. So being courageous and getting out of your own way would be number 1. And give yourself the damn gold star. Like, give yourself praise. Be proud of your achievements. Yeah.
No matter how small they are.
No matter how small. And, don't be afraid to shine your light. Like, stand up and be proud of what you've done and what you do. Like, don't shrink for other people. Stand up and be proud.
Awesome. That was a very good message. So anyway, Lex, we've been going for like close to an hour actually.
I know.
So I just want to say thank you for your time today, Lex, for coming and for talking to us on your podcast. And I'm sure a lot of people are gonna gain a lot from this podcast that we did today. And maybe we need to send another bill to those who are watching for all the free stuff that Lex is giving you. Anyway, I really appreciate your time, and I just want to wish you all the best in your career and also the stuff that you're building. And I'm really looking forward to seeing those stuff when it's up.
Thanks, Alex.
Make sure I'm in the loop.
Cool. I'll loop you in. And yeah, it's been great. And I know this has taken a bit of a while. You know, I've been like sort of ghosting Ali a little bit, and pushing him back and pushing it back. But we finally got here. It's been a really cool chat.
Definitely. All right. Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you. See you on the next one. Thank you for watching this episode. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And I'll see you on the next one.